What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we have for you 5 big keys when it comes to sports performance programming. So hopefully these are able to help you out whether you're a coach or an athlete making your own workouts. Hopefully these help you out. So if you enjoy this, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. We post new videos every Tuesdays and Thursdays. So make sure you subscribe to catch all of them. Hope you enjoy. All right, you guys, in no particular order, number 1, a huge key that a lot of people don't realize is variability is not always a great thing, right? We see a whole bunch of things on social media, or we see people doing all these complex different types of exercises week in and week out, but that's not always good programming, right? When it comes to progressive overload or just that consistency of adaptation, oftentimes we can tweak things before we change new exercises, right? So there is a time and a place to throw things in, to switch things up. Obviously, you're not gonna do the exact same program your entire life. However, especially when you're starting off, we can get away with doing like a 3x6 with a certain weight. And then next week we hit a 3x6 or maybe a 4x5 with a little more weight, but it's the exact same exercise. So working more in that block style where for the next 6 weeks, we're hitting this main lift. So that's one way that we like to do it, right? So for 6 weeks, we'll focus on a specific lift. Let's say, for example, back squat. Now we might change up the accessory exercises we do with it, depending on the person, the sport, all those different things. But the back squat itself, we're just working with that. Number 1, that's really good to develop a skill of that exercise, right? You hear me say, we're not training these kids or these athletes to be weightlifters. They're sports players, right? A soccer player, baseball player, whatever it is. However, if we can practice, then we can become really good at the movement, so then we can lift a lot of load in it and improve our force capacity, right? If we're constantly switching it up, we might not be able to become really proficient in an exercise to produce that much force expression or to improve our capacity, okay? So we don't want to be switching things up too much to where we can never get good at something and where we don't let an exercise create the adaptation we're going for. If we're changing it up too much, then we're not going to get that adaptation because our body's going to be going back and forth, right? For athletes, this is training, not just a workout. We don't need to be switching it up every week. If you're bored and you don't like your workout because you're bored, get over it. You're an athlete. Number 2, another key is the most important thing is consistency, right? It's not a thing of I'm going to come in when I want, just drop in to a session here and there. When I'm free, I go. You have to make it a priority and you have to put in the effort, right? Anything you want to become good at needs practice and it needs dedicated time. So being consistent is the most important, whether you're on like the absolute best program in the world or just some novice program. It's not gonna matter as much as consistency matters. That is the foundation. So when you dip out and you don't come to your training session, you hit or miss, you wanna take a couple weeks off, that is absolutely going to kill where your goals are going, right? You have to be consistent and you have to put in the time. And I'm going to take it a step further and I'm going to say it's not enough to just show up, but you have to come in with intent and intensity and you have to compartmentalize, right? When you're coming in to train, you have to make sure the environment is there for your athletes to where they can compete, they can try to get better. It's not about going through the motion. So if you're an athlete, come in with that mindset. I'm going to consistently go in and try to get better, be better than I was yesterday. And if you're a coach, you want to create that environment where, yes, you can have fun and you can, laugh and joke around, but there's still that expectation of we are going to work today. Whether you want to be here or not, it doesn't matter. You are here, so let's make it worth it, right? At the end of every session, ask yourself, was that worth my time? And if it wasn't, then you're gonna have to start changing things before the next session. Number 3, there is a huge misconception that if you don't leave the gym feeling absolutely destroyed, it wasn't a good workout. I want to state very clearly, fatigue does not equal adaptation. I say this to a lot of our athletes. I want you coming in to the gym and after your workout, I want you leaving feeling better than when you started, right? Not every workout is that going to be the case where you leave feeling better. There definitely are going to be some workouts where you're cooked, right? Your legs are tired, arms, whatever it may be, but that's part of progression. But for the most part, fatigue does not equal adaptation. You don't need to not be able to walk or lying on the floor passed out in order to get benefit, right? There's obviously the minimum dose, the minimum effective dose. I don't think we need to just be working at that minimum. Obviously, it depends, right? If we're in season, then don't necessarily need to be cooking people, but then again, it depends on the sport, depends on your play time. You can still get really good like strength gains and build during the season, right? But at the same time, we don't need to be destroying our athletes every single time. That old school mentality of if you're not barfing, you're not working hard enough. That's a lack of knowledge. You should not be doing that if you're an athlete, and if you're a coach who still programs that way, you really need to learn. Number 4, there are a lot of people who just copy what they see other people do, and I'm particularly talking about novice athletes. You see a massively complex session, or you see someone on social media doing an exercise and you want to copy them because you think that's a good program. However, especially when you're a novice, very, very small amounts of stimulation will actually cause adaptation. So you want to remember that when you're starting or when you're training, the most important thing is understand your level, because you don't need to be doing a complex workout if a simple workout is going to cause the same adaptation, if not more, right? The more complex we make it, number one, we might not be able to execute the lift as well. We might not have that cognitive capacity to, like I said, execute these at high levels. So why don't we just start building a foundation, building a base? All too often we see people trying to do what someone else does, when, like I said, for like a novice, for example, if we just start teaching them how to squat, teaching them how to press, those types of exercises, that's going to cause so much adaptation for probably a long period of time. When that stops working, then we can increase the complexity of it. But a lot of people just jump to doing what they see other people do. And if anything, that can actually do way more harm than good, right? As humans, we always try to overcomplicate things. We always want the next best thing. You look on social media and the things that get the views are the really complex things that are eye-catching. However, some of the most beneficial things we can do are actually very simple. People don't like to hear it, especially when you're paying for a service. They don't want to hear that, you know, simplicity is sometimes the best, especially when you're training a 10, 11, 12-year-old. However, we have to remember that when you are starting out in the weight room, or when you are trying to program for performance training, this is to help build qualities that you are going to express in your sport. So we don't need to overcomplicate it, given the type of person. Obviously, if we're talking about, let's say, like Christian McCaffrey, he can probably handle a whole hell of a lot more than a 12-year-old, youth soccer player, right? So we have to remember where we're at, and we can't jump the gun on too many things in here. Number 5, one of the biggest things that actually drives me beyond nuts is when, I'll say, coaches in particular fail to realize the cognitive aspect of training, right? If we're talking speed, quickness, agility, that is as much a cognitive capacity as it is a physical skill, right? It's not as simple as, oh, you're just fast because you're fast, right? Maybe certain people, if you're just running a 10-yard sprint, no external stimuli, right? But in sports, that's never the case. I'll say in sports like football, soccer, those types of sports, basketball, there's always something going on that we have to respond to. So when you are programming your training, you have to make sure there is an element of cognitive training, whether it's at the start for 5 minutes, just doing quickness stuff. You see us, we do a lot of tennis balls, that reaction style of training, where you have to be able to analyze the situation, analyze the external stimuli, right? Whether it's tennis balls, a clap, a person, different cue words, you have to be able to analyze that and respond quickly, right? It's that decision-making aspect. And this is where I see a lot of people fail in their training, right? We all look for that one-size-fits-all program, or the one quick solution, like you're slow because, let's say, you have tight calves. Instead of taking a step back and seeing maybe you're not quick because there's a massive delay between your brain and your body. Maybe you can't fire fast. In the gym, we can, fix that, but maybe that's the problem. So we have to remember that, yes, we have to train the squats and this and that, the jumps, but also to don't forget to train your mind. Do these reactive drills, improve your athlete, if you're a coach or if you're an athlete, improve your ability to make decisions rapidly and efficiently, because the better we are with our mind, the better our bodies are going to respond. So hopefully these keys help you. If you enjoyed this, please give a thumbs up, please subscribe, and we will catch you in the next one.